Hello, this is Yaakov Kronenberg from Jerusalem, and tonight another class in the series of classes on Sagittarius ascendant and Jupiter in the different signs. Tonight we're going to be doing Jupiter in Libra. It's a very interesting combination because I remember my teacher always used to say the two signs that everybody likes are Sagittarius and Libra. And so here you have a person who's got both of them, the Sagittarius on the ascendant and Jupiter in Libra. Both of them are benefics. If you take a look at it closely, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of great good fortune, and Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet of love and enjoyment and pleasure. And so the person has a little bit of both, right? On the one hand, they got that Jupiterian expansiveness and wisdom and openness to life experience, and on the other hand, you got that Venus with the desire for pleasure and the tendency for pleasure to come to them. And it makes them very popular, right? Jupiter in Libra is a sign of popularity. Again, of course, you have to always look at the dispositor of Jupiter. In this case, right, you look at what's called the dispositor of Jupiter, the secondary ruler of the chart. In other words, Jupiter will give itself up to the secondary ruler. And so you always have to pay attention to that. And so if you have when you have Jupiter in Libra, so it's going to be again it's the Sagittarius, like we always said, wants to communicate, it wants to give you its ideas, it wants to convince you he's right. It's involved it loves to tell stories. It's a raconteur. The Sagittarius is interested in many things. It's especially interested in philosophy, religion, or higher education, all sorts of things like that. And when you have the Jupiter in Libra, there's going to be an interest that's going to express itself. The Sagittarian is always going to express itself. It's going to express itself in an artistic type of way with the Libra rising. It's a very, very social sign, right? First of all, Libra is the most social sign. They love to interact socially. And in this case, Jupiter will fall, for the most part, in the 11th house, which is the house of friendship. So you have a double indication here of the 11th house importance, right? Because you have it in the sign of Libra, which is also connected with social activity, social interactions, and the 11th house is very strong because the ruling planet is in the 11th house. They're going to express themselves through their friends. Who their friends are is very, very important to a person with this type of combination. And there's going to be an interest, of course, a little in politics, right? Because the 11th house, we said, is one of the political houses. Interest in politics, interested in large groups, interested in they love to be part of groups. Here it'll be like groups that do good deeds, right? Because Jupiter wants to do good, right? So they'll be involved in groups and organizations that want to do good. They want to do good through politics. Again, when you have Jupiter in the 11th, so the ruling planet in the 11th, it could take away from the desire for a family and home and children, right? Because right, if you look at the chart, the 11th house is the 8th house from the 4th. Right, the home dies when the person gets involved in friendships and social activity. Right, so that can be the ruin of the family. Right, Although the people don't like the kids getting bad friends, right? Because the bad friends take them away from the home and the values of the family, and it ruins the family, especially if the parents are very, very socially active. Again, they don't have time for the children, right? The 11th house is also opposite the 5th house, the house of children. So when you have a very strong 11th house, it's going to take away from the children, right? The parents have to choose between their friends and their children, and then I guess in the end they'll choose their friends. So they won't have time to, sometimes to raise their children. So that has to be considered. A person who has a very strong 11th has to learn how to do the balance, because in Judaism, I think that the 4th house is very, very important, and the 5th house, they're like, and so you don't want to, compromise them, and so it can be a problem. It's like in Jerusalem, the difference between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Jerusalem, it's all built around, the whole life is built around the home and the family, so there's not much of a social life for people who are single. I know like a tremendous amount of single people that they just don't have a life here because there's very little single life. Tel Aviv, on the other hand, is tremendously single. It's a single city because there's not that many. It's all built around the social life more than the family life. People come there from all over the country to have a good time, to be part of a group. So it's each one has its problems and advantages. And I want to look at a chart tonight of a very famous woman. Actually, she was. She's still alive, actually, but she was one of the most famous rock singers in the 1970s. Actually, was the highest paid rock singer, the most successful, probably the most first major successful rock singer that, female, that had, that could fill an auditorium with fans and stuff, and tremendously popular. And we'll take a quick look at her chart, because she also has this Jupiter in Libra, Sagittarius ascendant, Jupiter in Libra. And in her chart, the Jupiter in Libra falls in the 10th house in the career. Right? So she's got that strong Jupiter in the career sign, which gives her a very, very successful career. Of course, that's not enough. Well, a lot of people are going to have Jupiter in the 10th house. If you look closely at her chart, you see the Jupiter is almost exactly aspected by a trine from Uranus in the 7th house, which makes a very popular, very charismatic type of woman. Very liberal views, right? Eclectic views on things, interested in, and she also has the moon trine the Jupiter. So she has a grand trine, what you call a grand trine. The moon is trine the Jupiter and the Uranus, and the Uranus is trine Jupiter and the moon, and Jupiter is trine Uranus and the moon. So it gives her a tremendous, makes her very likable again. She has that good moon, the good instincts. Right? And she also has the moon. So like I said before, the Jupiter, even though it's in the 10th house, is also working for her 11th. And she also has the moon there in Iran. She has also the moon in Aquarius, which is naturally the natural ruler of the 11th house, in say Adam Rishon's chart. And so it's very, very friendship, socially oriented type of chart. And she also has, if you look at the chart, we talked about the dispositorship. And she has a difficult chart for marriage and romance in her chart. First of all, she has the Sun very tightly conjunct to Saturn, which means trouble from men trouble. The Saturn is also in detriment in her chart, so she tends to not pick the best of men. And if you look at the Jupiter is disposited by Venus, with the planet of love, which is in fall in her chart. And Venus doesn't really make any aspects in her chart. It sort of like stands alone. And it's loosely connected with Mars, a 12 degrees difference. And she also has Uranus right on the 7th house cusp, and the Uranus is in a tight square with Mars. So she's very, very that can harm the chart, in the sense that the Uranus-Mars square, and they're mutable also, they're both immutable signs, that causes her to have breakups, basically. Uranus is freedom-oriented, Mars is very self-willed, and you do one thing wrong and she kicks you out. Right? It takes away from that nice Jupiter in Libra, Sagittarius type of personality, because she has that Uranus right on the in a powerful position, and Mars also is very high in the chart in the 9th house. So it's going to take away a lot from it. So she never really got married. She was romantically linked with the governor of California one time. And I'm sure she had plenty of affairs, but I don't think she never got married, and never had her own children. I heard she adopted children. Again, you see the 5th house, the ruler of the 5th house is in fall in the 9th house. And it doesn't make really an aspect to anything else, and so the 5th house is sort of weak. In the end, she adopted children. I thank everybody for listening.